All right, here I am again. Been a while. I may be out of practice, but I've been busy. Yeah, working, which is good because I need a distraction from all this bullshit. So, for the three of you that are watching, here I am again. Yeah, and like I've said before, I'm mainly doing this for me. Of course, I'm not monetized. I'm not selling ads or doing anything like that. In fact, what this one is about sales. And actually exploration of a single word that just keeps popping into my head. So today, I actually have a graphic aid. Yeah, check this out. Disingenuous. Now, just think about that word for a minute. This is a word, a description that I usually try to avoid because I can't stand being disingenuous. So, hopefully it was up there long enough for you to read it. I was in court one time, and a judge, a woman judge, a lady judge. Well, I don't really know if that's true. But a judge actually told me while I was in court, because I stood up and I just said my piece, what I had to say. And this judge, honorable woman, said, Mr. DeBolt, I don't think I've ever had anybody in my courtroom with as much candor as you have. Now, that was like 25 years ago. 25 years ago. Something like that. I think I was in my early 30s, maybe. I'm not sure. I got a pretty good memory, but sometimes the details evade me. I can go back and watch these videos and see myself telling a story and then not finishing it because I went off on some tangent. Because my brain works overtime. But this particular one, what I want to explore, and disingenuous is a word that came up because disingenuous is basically a lack of candor. And candor is not something that I'm missing. The reason for that is that as long as I can remember, because I learned a lot of things in my childhood, in my adolescence, and my teenage years, that certain things got me in more trouble than they were worth. And one of those things was lying. Stealing's another thing that I participated in a little bit when I was younger, when I was a kid. I class myself mostly an adult now, and pretty much a mature one, because given any situation, I completely explore it with thought, examine the past, what's already been proven to happen, and then think about the future, which relates to the past and could repeat the past if I don't consider what I'm actually saying or what I'm actually doing. And what you're saying and what you're doing is also relative to what I'm talking about. Because this is about trust. And something that's always been important to me in my entire working life has been, I like to be trusted. Being trusted is very important to me. I need people to know that I'm not going to screw them. That I'm not about bullshit. That I'm not going to tell them what they want to hear. This is why I don't like being called a salesman. I was told years ago that I could sell a fan to an Eskimo. And I think that's because I'm keyed in on trust. So people that know me know that they can trust me. They know I'm not going to rip them off. They know I'm not going to screw them. They know I'm not going to stab them in the back. They know I don't talk shit. Well, sometimes I talk shit. But I have a very low tolerance for bullshit. Bullshit is bullshit is bullshit. I was talking to Fabian a couple weeks ago. Now, I've been pretty dang busy, which, like I said before, is good because distractions are good for me as long as I'm doing something, accomplishing something, and moving myself or moving other people forward. Going backwards sucks. Which, I've got some recent experience with that. Mostly because of, a certain betrayal that some of you know about. I kind of put it in a place, and I don't let it affect me so much anymore, but it has amplified my ability to catch disingenuousness, which I think everybody could use that skill in their skill set. A couple weeks ago, I was having a talk with Fabian, and I told him, I said, part of the problem in the world is we're all conditioned to cheat. That's basically what the world teaches us. Well, at least in this country. I don't know. It's probably the same in every other country too. But basically what we see, the people that are successful, that move ahead and accumulate wealth, found a way to cheat. Profit margins are huge, which is a way of cheating, and then there's middlemen. Half the time, by the time you buy something, that product has actually gone through 5 or 6 companies. There's the wholesaler, the distribution center, the transportation, the reseller, everything. A product that probably took 15 cents to make is now on the shelf for $14. So, in a weird kind of way, it's kind of a form of cheating. Because that's what we're taught to do. It's beat into our heads as we're growing up. You gotta lie, cheat, and steal. Which is bullshit. Which is something I've argued against as long as I can remember. Because that doesn't seem good. In fact, it's bad. Because when you lie, cheat, and steal, you're hurting somebody else for your own benefit. And that's just not good. I find institutions that I used to belong to, I just can't trust anymore. I was raised Catholic, and I will tell you all day long that I think part of the reason I'm as smart as I am is because I got that parochial education. They taught me how to teach myself. They tapped into something that just advanced me. I'm still learning. Most days I wake up, I just don't know shit. And then I read, the mainstream media, and, I'm reading articles, and I don't understand how most people can't see these things, I'm reading articles, and then there's always, if this is true, allegedly, it's all speculation. The news is speculation. We already got speculation in the, in the stock market and insurance and, risk factors, I guess, are big money makers, and then, those are, everybody's cheating. Everybody. Except me. I try really hard not to cheat. Now, at the same time I say that, I've also said in conversation that we're all hypocrites by default. And I say that because things that we felt and we agreed with when we were 25 or 30 years old, by the time we're 55 or 56, we don't agree with those things anymore. Now, mind you, the interpretation of hypocrite might not apply, but I play with words sometimes. But if you totally disagree with something that you felt when you were 25 years old, you know, and now you're 31 years older, it's a little bit hypocritical if you're trying to maintain consistency. But the whole thing is you learn certain things. And therein lies the wisdom. So if the attention of wisdom means being a hypocrite by default, guilty. And I'll take that guilty because I believe in trust. And I believe everybody that deals with me can trust me. Because it never enters my mind to screw them. Because what I do, what I accomplish, is way more important to me than what I have. We live in a material world where people judge themselves by what they have and not by what they do. People all over the place working jobs they can't stand to pay for shit they don't need. And it's all because of the media, advertising. And if you don't believe in mind control, then you don't believe in advertising. But everybody is dancing to the tune of advertising and marketing. And believe me, there's a lot of that going on in government, in religion, and in the marketplace. That kind of mind control is going on everywhere. Disingenuous. Disingenuous means spin. It means you can doctor up the facts however you want. And they do that just to sell you product. It's all about a market. Bulletproof coffee. I just read that New York just passed something they call the Reproductive Rights Act. And this makes it possible, legal in New York, to perform late-term abortions. And you don't need a doctor to do it. And there's no protection for a baby that survives abortion. When I was 25 years old, 30, 31, I was pro-life. No. No, I'm pro-life now. And the whole thing is I don't think it's black or white issue anyway. When I was in my 20s and my early 30s, I was pro-choice. And I thought that was I hate it when I can't find a word. I thought that was the right way to think. So I thought that abortion was okay. Now, also have to acknowledge that when I was 25, 30 years old, I still didn't really know myself. I was still a subject of my conditioning. Okay? I went through a lot of pain since then. A lot of bad things happened. A lot of things that I was all in for that fell apart. A lot of things changed. And change is good. Because change makes you wise. If you have a problem accepting change, you'll never be wise. But then if you don't want to think, who cares? I was with somebody for a very long time, and her daughter had a child. Well, I should say before that, I actually was with somebody for a very short time that had had 2 abortions. And I was old enough to actually really consider it and actually have conversations with her about that. And she was emotionally distraught from that forever. She recently passed, God rest her soul. And I felt very bad for her because she wished she had never done it. Now, this is something, I've said it before. When I was married the first time, I got married the first time because she was pregnant. I was 21, she was 17. In a way, it's not really a good situation. I'm actually guilty of something that I find very repugnant. Didn't think of it at the time, and still questionable about the right or wrong of it. So sometimes things have to be examined and analyzed. We're not going to do that here. But lost that baby. It was a boy. I actually saw the fetus. And I stayed with her for a year and a half after that because I went to the library and I read about it, and I found out that basically it takes women anywhere between a year to 2 years to get over that, whether it's a miscarriage or an abortion, whether it's their choice or not their choice. It's still terrible. It's a fucked up thing. And even when I was younger, I didn't want to be an asshole. So I understood later on, when I was with this other woman, that how that had affected her. And it's not just the 1 or 2 years. It affects them their whole life. It's something that they carry that regret for their entire life. Now, if they don't, I think there may be some evil at play. But in New York, they just legalized it. Like I said, late-term abortions all the way up to the 3rd trimester. Doesn't need to be a doctor. There's no protection if the child survives the abortion. And the whole thing seems disingenuous to me. Because I know there is evil in the world. And I have this thought, and it's a scary thought, that in a way we might not ever hear about it. They might be creating a market. I'm going to leave that at that. I don't want to say any more about that. It's a scary thought. But why? Why? And I get back to my story of this other person that I was with, whose daughter had a child. Then she did the stupid thing of getting pregnant again. And mind you, she was still a minor. I found out after the fact that her mom had gone and paid for a procedure, and there was no second child. That was the day I learned that I'm pro-life. That was the day that I wasn't iffy about it anymore. Because it hurt. It was traumatic to my mind. Traumatic to my heart. For a couple reasons. For one, I wasn't consulted about it at all. Now, mind you, she wasn't my kid. So I had no rights at all. But as a human being and as a partner, I felt like I should have been, at least talked to about it. But I found out after the fact because she had to explain to me where the money went. But that was the day I learned that no, abortion is absolutely repugnant. But this whole thing isn't about that. This thing is about trust. And the whole thing was that violated my trust. And I think that was probably the beginning of the end of that relationship. And God, that was freaking a decade ago. And seasoned my, the way I look, why I think about relationships forever, but it was trust. My, trust had been violated, and I had never done anything to, indicate that trust should be violated. No tit for tat thing. So the whole thing in New York, the whole thing I was talking to Fabian about, we're conditioned to cheat. We're conditioned to lie and steal. That's the way we're taught. If we want to get ahead, we got to learn to lie, cheat, and steal. And I made a joke from time to time that, if you want to be successful, look at the 7 deadly sins, pick 2 and go for it. But that really sucks. But I think, myself, personally, I believe I've been blessed. I've been blessed, and maybe it's an omnipotent God. Maybe it's just the good in the world. Maybe, it could be any number of things. I mean, some people would say I'm lucky. I'm lucky sometimes, but my luck's been pretty much bad most of my life. If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. So it's not, the definition of luck to me is always, as long as I can remember, the definition of luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. So being prepared when the opportunity arises, that's being lucky, I guess. Makes sense to me. So I've always thought my mind was the most important part of my entire organism. So basically, I've tried to educate myself so I can understand things, understand the world, understand my field of endeavor, the work that I do. So I know industry standards, I know codes, I know those things I need to know. And then the work that I do it so it's serviceable, which means that if I get hit by a truck, they can bring anybody in that may be less smart than me. They can still service it. They can still take care of it. And hopefully they can take care of it themselves. But sometimes there's not a willingness to do that. So they would have to bring somebody else in. And it's not that people are stupid or anything. I mean, most people are smart about something. I will say that all the time. But there's an unwillingness. I mean, certain things that have to go on in the world, people are unwilling to do. So, no matter how easy I make it for them, they still want me to do it. Or if I get hit by a truck, they got to find somebody that's at least close to me to do it. Because, for one, they got other things on their mind, and, they're just, it's too much. Not everybody can think about everything. And not everybody's brain works overtime. I mean, I wish more people would think. I wish more people would pay attention. And, when they read the mainstream media, they recognize words like alleged and what if and if it's true. And then there's the hearsay factor. There's so-and-so overheard so-and-so. And that's who I interviewed. And they said that they heard this. And it's not, it's just disingenuous. Back to the word, disingenuous. It's just disingenuous. Lacking candor. Candor is straightforward. Candor is honest. Candor is forthcoming. Candor is not withholding the truth. Candor is a lack of bullshit. And I have low tolerance. I have zero tolerance for bullshit. And that's why it's always been important to me to be trusted, which really makes it hard to function in this world. Because there's a lot of lying, cheating, and stealing going on. And it's all just to manipulate a market. That's all it is. It's wealthy people wanting to be wealthier. And they don't care how many people they make poor to do it. It doesn't matter. You know? And socialism can't fix it. Fascism can't fix it. I mean, all that shit's pipe dreams. I mean, all that stuff is basically people putting a coat on and saying they're this or that, basically in the hopes that they get other people to follow them and then put them into power so they can control more people. Disingenuous. You know, and when I see disingenuousness, I wonder what the real motives are. I wonder what they got up their sleeve. I wonder what cards they're holding. And then I wonder what they're trying to do. Because the most important thing is what people are doing, not what they're saying. It's what they are doing. That's why I refuse to be a salesman. Because sometimes, in fact, most of the time, if you want to be a successful salesman, you got to tell customers what they want to hear. Because you're trying to get them to sign on the line. And they're not going to sign on the line unless they agree with what you're pushing. So, just as a rule, to be a successful salesman, you got to tell the customer what they want to hear. I am a consultant. I am an analyst. And as an analyst and as a consultant, I cannot be disingenuous and still sleep at night. Now, mind you, I feel like I might have slighted salesmen. Okay? I don't mean to do that. I think there's a lot of great salesmen out there, and I think there's a lot of salesmen that are actually selling a great product. And I think there's actually a lot of honest salesmen out there. So I don't want to denigrate salesmanship as a whole. Okay? What I'm saying is that there are certain aspects to it that cannot be denied. And that we must pay attention to if we're going to be aware of a disingenuous nature. And you can go on YouTube and you can watch videos and sooner or later you're going to come across somebody that mentions discernment. Discernment. Discernment is what keeps you away from the bullshit. Discernment is what keeps you away from disingenuousness. Discernment is what keeps you from going down the primrose path that certain people want to lead you down. Now, mind you, I'm still pretty much poor. I'm driving a $1,000 automobile that I kind of got lucky, but I like to think it's because I shopped and I found this deal and there was a couple of things wrong with it cosmetically. Mechanically, it's pretty sound and it works good for me. It looks good. It beats the hell out of gas mileage from that old Dodge van I had, which I think it was probably God's will that I crashed that thing. I don't know. You know, my thinking goes a lot of different ways. Like I said, my brain works overtime. So, you know, here I am again for the three of you that are watching. And I'm trying to talk about trust. And I kind of still have it in my mind that I'm doing these to, maybe great grandkids down the road, long after I'm gone and buried, or burned, whatever happens to me after I die. And they can look at this and know who their granddad was, or great-granddad, or great-great-granddad. This technology's here. It's here for me. It's here for the three of you that are watching. So, that's an element of me that I wanted to express. And, and I touched on a couple things that I've noticed in the past couple days. It's like the leader of the house. They don't want that wall to be built. And, I'm wondering about the motivations. I mean, because over the years, they voted for it. And, now all of a sudden, it's basically implying that they were disingenuous before. That they never meant it. That it was all just a show. Because now it's what they wanted in the past, but now they don't want it because they just hate an individual person. So, I mean, it's politics in its purest form. And it makes everything that came before disingenuous. And I'm trying to stay away from politics. I mean, I really want this stuff to stick to philosophy and my own philosophy. My own philosophy is to have personal integrity. And to have personal integrity, I have to be trusted. It makes me feel good when people trust me. It makes me feel good to know that people know beyond a doubt that I will not screw them. I will not stab them in the back. I will not betray them. If there's any bad thing coming from me, they're going to hear about it from me. If there's evil in the world that can affect them in the process of what we're trying to do, if I notice it, I will tell them. I feel that's part of my job. And that's because I firmly believe that God's purpose for all of us, every last one of us, is to be a better person tomorrow than we were today. And that's if we're in the pursuit of good. Now, evil, that's a whole different pursuit. And there's a lot of evil in the world. And it's real hard to trust people. Which is why I feel like I'm wealthy, even though I don't have much. And what I do have is stuff to help me do what I do. I don't have big screen TV, the big ass stereo. I mean, I don't have that stuff. Creature comforts have never meant anything to me because the material world, people should be judged. Oh, we started over again. I didn't realize it went this long. People should be judged on what they do, not what they say. As they say, the road to hell is paved with the best intentions. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm pretty sure there's something I missed. Something I didn't say. I probably said a couple things I shouldn't have said. But this is for me. So I'll look at it later and go, wow, did you really say that? Or, wow, you actually said that. All I'm trying to say in this is that I like being trusted. And I wish everybody felt the same way. I mean, it's not about creature comforts for me. It's not about getting laid. It's not about getting stoned anymore. It's not about, feeling high or getting out of my head or escaping the misery or ignoring the bullshit. In a way, I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, and the key to life is navigating the bullshit. And hopefully you got people close to you that will navigate it with you. I mean, being the only one on a ship's pretty damn lonely. And I am not the only one on this ship. which is really cool. But there you have it. Trust. Watch out for this. Watch out for disingenuous people. Hope you like my graphic aid. Anyway, that's it. That's this installment. And there you go. Love y'all, especially those 3 of you. And till next time.